Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Unboxed, where we seek to unbox the power and the potential of relationships. Today's question: how do I deal with my husband's menopause? We're going to look at part two of that answer when we come right back. I'm Dr. Robert Davis, family life educator and relationship coach, and welcome to Unboxed, a frank and straightforward conversation about relationships. We're going to talk about family, church, workplace, and all other types of relationships. Join me for the next few moments as we unbox the power and potential of relationships and help you to live your best life. Hello again, everyone. I'm Dr. Robert Davis, your host today for Unboxed, where we unbox the power and the potential of all relationships, meaning family relationships, marital relationships, workplace relationships with our in-laws and outlaws, relationships at church, relationships in the community, you name it. How do I become the best me in every type of relationship? And I want to encourage you to send in your questions, which we answer here live on streaming every single night. Please send in your questions. You can email them to us. You can direct message me on Facebook, or of course, you can go to visit our website and submit one of your questions through our website. But whichever way you do it, please get in contact with us. And talking about getting in contact, do me a favor, like, subscribe, and share. That's right, like, subscribe, and share. Thumbs up, like, subscribe, and share. And then check out our the links in the description for ways that you can also partner and support what we are doing with Unboxed. All right, let's go ahead. Let's jump right into the heart of this. Last time we were here, we talked about our friend Stephanie, who lives in Maryland, and she asked the question: how do I tell my husband of 23 years that he's going through the male version of menopause? He gets really irritable and he feels that I neglect him. I think it's, and here's the word she used, MANopause. This is her, not me. Please. She's the one that asked this question, not me. And so the last time that we were here, we talked about how you're showing up during these different aspects of your relationship. And I asked her to think about how her husband's mood and his attitude and the various changes he's experienced, how does it make her feel? And then as you think about how it makes you feel, then you also want to think about what type of person you want to be in this relationship. Nothing in all relationships, but especially in this relationship, because as a husband and wife, it's unique, it's lifelong. And then the last thing we talked about last day before yesterday, which was Tuesday, we said to ask yourself the question: what pressing or immediate changes do you need to make to reach your relationship objectives? All right, I want to go into part two of this and answer a few other questions. Again, like, subscribe, and share. And here we go. I also want for you not only to focus on feelings and the type of person that you want to be, but I want to begin a process, and I'm going to talk more about this tomorrow night. I want to begin a little process with you, and it is helping you in relationships to focus more on process than content. An awful lot of times, we focus a lot on content, and I've even encouraged you to be as factually accurate as possible. And the reason that I've encouraged you to try to be as factually accurate as possible is because I want you to be able to think rather than to just react instinctively based off of emotions. You know, reacting instinctively is where someone says something to you, and before you even think about it, you're cussing them out, or you're crying, or whatever it may be. I want to get you to a place where you're not reacting emotionally, but rather you're able to think through what's going on. And so that's one of the reasons why I share with you that you need to try to be as factual as possible. But I don't want you to get bogged down. I want you to start moving into thinking, and that's one of the great tools to help you to move into thinking. But once you get into the thinking mode, then I want you to start focusing on process. And I'm going to talk a little bit about today. This is a very good question that helps to illustrate that point. How do we focus more on process rather than content? What's going on in the relationship dynamic is the process. That's more important than what a person is or is not doing. So when we talk about relationship process, we're talking about what is going on in the relationship. Some people refer to this as being able to observe the family emotional system, the emotional system. So how do I do that? Let me just give you a few starter questions to begin thinking through how this looks. So one of the questions I want to ask you to start thinking through is, when your husband becomes irritable and needy, how do you respond? So I asked you the last time, how do you feel? And that is part of process. But I also want to ask you, how do you respond? And I want you to begin thinking about that, because now what ends up happening is the way that we respond ends up impacting the way that they respond. One of the marvelous things is, if we can change the variable in the relationship equation, then the whole equation changes. And I use this example when I was doing our our executive directors peer support group. And if you want more information about our executive directors peer support group, please visit our website. But in that, I talked about changing one aspect of the equation. And in any equation, if part of the equation was 3x, but instead of saying 3x, you change that number to 7x. That one little variable changes the entire equation, and the ultimate answer is going to be different. So if we change one variable, and it's a very important variable, and that is the way that we relate, respond, react, and behave in the relationship, it automatically is going to change the entire way that the relationship dynamic unfolds. So start asking yourself, when my husband becomes irritable and needy, how do I respond? How do you respond? And you can take out when my husband becomes irritable and needy. You can put in there, when my husband comes home late, when my wife doesn't make dinner, when my children do not follow through with something I've told them to do. How do I respond? In any relationship question, you can put, whatever you're dealing with, and then ask that question, how do I respond? And then as you're talking about the process, how does your husband respond to your response? So now you're starting to think through that play and counterplay. How does your husband respond to your response? And then, of course, you can kind of figure out how that spirals. So how do you respond? He presents an initial way that he's presenting. And remember, he's probably presenting in response to what he believes he's receiving from you. And then you respond, he responds, you respond, he responds, and this goes back and forth. Again, when one person can accurately observe what is going on, as well as the part that they are playing, and when they can begin to manage and regulate the part that they play in the relationship dynamic, they can change the entire relationship equation. I hope that this is clicking. So how does your husband respond to your response? And I want you to think it through as far as you possibly can. And then, of course, as we said the last time, which leads into this next question, is what strategies, all right, what strategies have you used to break out of this cycle? So he presents a certain way, you respond. You respond, he responds. He responds, you respond. Now, when that happens, each of us try to break the cycle. Sometimes we try to break the cycle by lecturing, yelling, or arguing with the person. Sometimes we try to break the cycle by shutting down, going quiet, and say, I'm not going to have anything to do with this. Sometimes we break the cycle by distancing, slamming doors, leaving the house. There's different ways that we try to break the cycle, and in different ways that's manifested, even like distancing or leaving, etc. So I want to ask you this. What strategies have you used in the past to break the cycle? Because you might not even realize you've actually been using some strategies. And the reason that you're reaching out to me is because you know that those strategies have not been successful. So what strategies have you been using to break out of this cycle? And last question, how are you becoming reactive to his emotional responses? Again, we're talking about the process. How do I react, and what emotions and stuff, and how do I react upon those emotions when he responds? Are you starting to think? Now, I'm not giving you all the answers tonight, because what I'm doing is I'm trying to help you to think about what's going on. How is the process of this whole dilemma playing out in your relationship? And once you can accurately observe that, you can put yourself into a position where you can start trying different things. Now, it may not work the very first time, but if you have been trying a series of approaches and it hasn't been working, the first thing is by taking a step back, a deep breath, and really observing what is going on in this relationship process. And then saying, you know what? Typically, when he starts becoming needy and grumpy, you know what I do? I end up going into another room, getting on the computer or watching TV or busying myself with some hobby and just leaving him alone. But that doesn't work. Because as soon as I come back around him, he does, it starts back up again. And then I get more annoyed. So then I start snapping at him and telling him, you ain't gonna talk to me like that. There's something wrong with you. You need to go see a doctor. And then he snaps back, if you were a better wife, that wouldn't have this. And then I usually will leave back out again. You know what? That hasn't been working. So let me try something else. Let me just change a little bit of the variable, because I don't know all of your response. I'd love to have a conversation with you to talk about how that whole process, that whole cycle plays itself out. But since I'm not there, I can just kind of give you some, some large, big picture type stuff. And then ultimately, I'm going to try something new now. Rather than leaving, I'm going to try to sit down and ask him, what's the matter? You seem to be upset. Talk to me. That may not work. Okay, that didn't work. I'm going to try something else, because I know what the type of person that I want to be. I know how I want to behave and act in this relationship. So let me try different ways of being who I said that I want to be. Listen, again, I wish that I had an opportunity, Stephanie, to sit down and really just go through this. I imagine it's a marvelous thing, but we got some pretty good questions that we can start off with. Reach back out to me. Let me know how things are going, and maybe we can follow up and do some additional discussion after you've tried some of these things, and maybe you'll have a good testimony, or maybe we'll have to tweak it a little bit more. Either way, we want to unbox the power and the potential of our relationships. I want to thank you for tuning in. Please make sure that you like, subscribe, and share. Make sure that you check the description box for various ways that you can support Unboxed. Until we meet each other tomorrow, may you have a wonderful day.
Seasoned with Grace, Unboxed also provides healthy relationship training and leadership development for businesses, churches, and community organizations. For a free consultation to discuss your team's needs, please contact us at our website at swg-unboxed.org. That's swg-unboxed.org.